Hey guys, welcome back. Today, we've got some Infinite news to talk about. Now, although the title might look it because of the dreaded micro, I don't think that this news is as bad as people seem to think. I mean, it's definitely not the best news that we've ever had, but I think people might be exacerbating it all just a little bit. So today, I want to give my 2 cents on both these pieces of news because I feel like I can offer a fairly balanced perspective overall, at least. So, starting off with Infinite's creative director, what's happened? Well, Jason Schreier and Stephen Totilo recently broke the news on Kotaku that Tim Longo, the creative director for Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, has left 343, supposedly as a part of a leadership shakeup that's happening in the late stage of the game's development. And just so you know, this isn't just a rumor. They reached out to Microsoft for a comment, and they came back confirming that Tim has indeed left 343, but they also said some other interesting stuff. Roles and responsibilities of various team members regularly evolve to meet the needs of a game throughout development. We have recently had 2 changes to the Halo Infinite development team. Our executive producer, Mary Olsen, will now take charge of the campaign team on Halo Infinite as lead producer, utilizing her many years of experience at 343 to help craft a great campaign for fans. The overall creative vision and production of the game remains led by Chris Lee, studio head of Halo Infinite. We have a world-class team building Halo Infinite, and the overwhelming positive response by fans has us energized, yada yada yada. These changes have no impact to the release date for Halo Infinite, which will be coming out in holiday 2020. So there's a fair bit to take in there, so let's start off with Tim. So, for those unaware, he's quite a bit of an industry legend. He was one of the lead guys on Republic Commando, which is heralded still as like one of the best Star Wars games of all time, and carried that experience into Halo 5 with the squad mechanics, but I think it's safe to say that they weren't as well received in Halo 5 as they were in Republic Commando. From what I can gather, he was also one of the driving forces behind Spartan abilities, I think. So, is it bad that Infinite's lost its creative director and also had a major leadership shakeup this late into development? Honestly, I have no idea, and neither does anybody outside of the studio. As much as they may seem to have an idea, no one really knows for sure. Obviously, creative director is a really important role, and you definitely don't want to be losing them in what is probably the most hectic time of the game's development, but Microsoft's insistence that this has had no impact on the game's release date does give me a little bit of hope. This has happened to many games before and had a bad effect, like for example Destiny 1 and Anthem, but at the same time it also happened with Halo 4. And depending on how you look at it and what your thoughts are, some people will see this as a pretty damn good thing because it meant that we got Halo 4's narrative. But at the same time, it may have also caused the shift towards the COD-style multiplayer. So my point is, there's honestly no way to be sure if this is a net positive or net negative yet, despite how bad it might sound. Best of luck to Tim in the future though, and thank you for your contributions to Halo. The other part of this major leadership shakeup is that Mary Olsen, previously the game's executive producer, is now the lead producer for the game's campaign. And the way that it's worded implies kind of that she's taken over Tim's job on the campaign. Now, I don't know if that is actually the case, but it just sort of reads like it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, despite what I just said, the fact that the campaign now has an entirely different lead producer just over a year out from launch does kind of worry me a little bit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Losing the creative director is one thing because, at least by my very amateur understanding of game dev, the creative director sort of oversees the creative direction of all facets of the game, but there's still a campaign lead who is purely dedicated to campaign, and also a multiplayer lead who is purely dedicated to multiplayer. So if the creative director leaves, then campaign and MP still retain their own sort of personal lead developers, if you get me. But if Tim was acting as both creative and campaign lead, then 2 of the primary figurehead roles of campaign development are now empty. Of course, there are other people working in equally important roles on the campaign, and what I just said might be absolutely factually incorrect. It may well be, but still, I do get a little bit of worry from this. However, something that does put my mind to rest a little bit is that Chris Lee is still in charge of the overall project. He's still the studio head for Halo Infinite, and I personally have a lot of faith in him and his vision for the game. I've spoken to him a few times before when I've been to 343, and I mean, hell, I've made videos about my conversations with him before, and I genuinely believe in him to do right by the game, so fingers crossed. Right, the next piece of news that had people up in arms relates to the dreaded microtransactions. Yay! Yet another new job advert was posted on Microsoft's career site asking for a live design lead. Now, this is not the first microtransaction related job that we've seen on here for Halo Infinite. Last September, there was a job posting asking for an online experience design director who would be working on all of the games as a service elements of the game, from microtransactions to player expression, and would need a comprehensive understanding of the psychology of gamer behavior, specifically in what keeps them coming back to the game. Well, I regret to inform you that this new job listing, although for a different position, is very, very similar in nature to the last one. The job asked for somebody with a deep understanding of various business models found in both mobile and AAA games. Mobile. Yikes. The person will be overseeing progression both in and out of the game, which is actually quite interesting, player investment systems, the integration of their business plan throughout the game, and social and engagement features that encourage players to return again with their friends. All good so far. But they'll also be designing, among other things, a AAA player investment experience that focuses on the fans and their desire to express their passion for Halo via microtransactions, but not limited to microtransactions. So, this should come as a shock to absolutely no one. We already knew that Halo Infinite was gonna have microtransactions, thanks to that job posting last year, and also thanks to the fact that we all have over single-digit IQs, but yet people are still freaking out like this is the first that we've heard of them? I mean, even if we never found that job posting in September, we could still be absolutely 100% adamant that the game would have micros given how much money Halo 5's rec system made, and also the fact that this is a AAA video game releasing after 2012. Dude, I'm not joking, I swear to God the world really did end in 2012, and this hellscape that we live in now is like purgatory or some shit, I don't know. The bottom line is, we all knew that they were going to be in the game. The real question is, however, how bad are they gonna be? Well, I have some thoughts. Possible rant incoming. But before we start, I just want to share one big positive. Chris Lee has already confirmed that Halo Infinite will not have any real money loot boxes. So despite what I'm about to say, just try and keep that little nugget of positivity in mind. So, I see a fair few people at the moment saying that microtransactions and loot boxes have actually kind of been getting better over the years, and although there is definitely like the odd exception, as a whole, they haven't been. Let's take a look at some AAA games as an example. Black Ops 2, the first Call of Duty with microtransactions, allowed you to just straight up buy like the odd camo or nameplate. Then, Black Ops 3 came along and introduced some of the worst loot boxes at the time, containing objectively overpowered weapons locked behind tiny percentages in extortionately expensive loot boxes. But then, Black Ops 4 came and took it a step further. It came with the same loot boxes, a season pass, a battle pass with payable tier skips, and an item shop, complete with an in-game currency that, of course, you can only buy an allotted amount of. Titanfall 1 just had a season pass, Titanfall 2 had micros, but to be fair, they were some of the fairest in the entire industry, but then Apex, which is technically a Titanfall game, although free, has RNG loot boxes and is currently going through a whirlwind of drama relating to an Axe cosmetic melee weapon that costs $170 in loot boxes. Lovely. Then, to bring it all home, Halo Wars 2 had a season pass, an expansion, which are both perfectly fine, but then some of the honestly most overlooked and ridiculous microtransactions yet, with like an entire mode built purely for them that was quite literally pay to win. I could continue, but I think you get my point by now. These systems are only going to keep getting worse. Every now and then, these companies backtrack ever so slightly to try and trick people into thinking that they're listening and that these systems are built for the player, but they aren't, they never have been, and they never will be. Halo 5's rec system absolutely destroyed one of the most beloved aspects of Halo, the armor customization, something that even Halo 4 absolutely nailed. There is nothing player-friendly or player-focused about that whatsoever. I mean, hell, if Halo Reach released 10 years later than it did, all the armor pieces would either be locked in loot crates or there'd be some stupid in-game currency that you could buy and then just buy the armor pieces with. And that's my point. I see people saying stuff like, well, if it's only cosmetic, then it's okay. As if working to unlock cosmetics has never been one of the most satisfying and beloved aspects of Halo. If the microtransactions are just cosmetic, then there goes Halo's armor unlock system. And if only some of the armor pieces are purchasable, then you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to be the most sought after pieces of armor in the game to encourage people to spend, because if not, then what the hell's the point in having a microtransaction system in the first place? The sole purpose of these microtransactions is to siphon as much revenue out of the players as possible. That's their nature, that's the sole reason they exist, and as such, they are always going to be intrusive, especially in a franchise like Halo with a long history of customization. You cannot have a microtransaction system that isn't intrusive. And I don't want to shatter any dreams here or anything, but although it may seem like the majority of players are against micros and never buy them just because that's the majority opinion online, all the earnings reports suggest otherwise. I mean, just recently, Activision had their earnings call, and despite the absolute insane kickback and uproar against BO4's ridiculous plethora of monetization options online, the game still made record revenue. So much so, in fact, that Activision executives said that players are embracing the new in-game content. Don't you just love to hear that? And if you think it's any different for Halo, then think again. Within only the first 6 months of Halo 5, rec packs made more money than any Halo DLC ever. Yep, that's right, Halo 5's rec packs made more money than Halo 3's map packs that released when the game was quite literally dominating the entire entertainment industry. Microtransactions are not going away. As we know for sure now, they are 100% going to be in Halo Infinite, and no matter how they're handled, they are always going to be intrusive in one way or another. But this job posting is nothing new. It's information that we've known for months, so why people now are saying that Infinite's a dead game and that Halo's a dead franchise, yada yada yada, is beyond me. Just please, 343, do not ruin this Reach-style customization system that you've teased for the game. Literally, that one sentence on stream last year, the amount of people that I've seen getting insanely hyped about the game because of that one sentence alone is astronomical, and it would be such a crying shame if that system was ruined for the sake of microtransactions. So, that's the news. The rant probably made this video way too long, so apologies for that. I just had quite a lot that I wanted to say. Don't get me wrong, I am still extremely excited for Halo Infinite. I think that it's going to be a great game, and I do genuinely trust 343 with it. I'm just still really worried about the microtransactions and the gameplay. But, as we always say, time will tell. Alrighty, thanks for watching, fellas. Big shout out to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. Thank you very much as per usual. And thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one.